Hello and welcome to another PA Matches tutorial. This is part 2 of diving into Orbital. If you've missed part 1, I highly recommend you go check it out. A link is in the description. In part 2 of this tutorial series, we're going to be diving into some of the more advanced components of Orbital Layer. Some of the advanced techniques and ways to break your opponent's back and gain intel. So again, I am still joined here by Merid4, who is very well versed in Orbital, so take it away.
Alrighty. So, moving on here into the advanced game. Advanced Orbital isn't really advanced because you don't have, a space station that you build to make yourself advanced. It's more of a soft ceiling where you reach a point where your metal income and your energy income is enough that building more Orbital will not limit your game on the ground in a significant manner. At this point, you should be building a lot of orbital fabricators. You should have advanced radar satellites zipping around the system, figuring out where everybody is, gleefully draining your eco. That's another point I should make, is advanced radar satellites, although they are amazing, they have an amazing drain on your economy of about 5,000 energy per. So you better watch out if you build 10 of them. So make sure you have the energy built for that. Before you build advanced radar satellites. Good policy for that. Little trick here. Build, for every advanced radar satellite you build a solar panel. You'll only be down about 5,000 energy at the end of it. 5 or 10,000 energy at the end of that if you build like 7 or 8. But the deficit can easily be made up by ground power if it comes down to it. And that'll keep you even for the entire game. Anyway, you've got the advanced satellites going everywhere. You're starting to build those orbital fabricators. So what should you do with them? So all of this depends on who's left in the game and where you are on your planet and how many planets you control. So, and also how many smashable planets you control, because by golly, hallies are important. Everybody loves to see that planet smash, and it is probably the most important thing about the game is to know who has the hallies and who wants to use them and who they're going to hit with them. That's the other important thing. So if it's a 4v, let's say a 4-way team, and there's 3 planets, and one of the teams has gotten eliminated, which is a pretty standard way to go for it, and you haven't taken over the main planet yet, but you got a foothold on one of the other planets, and you can nuke that planet. In this specific instance, this is very specific here, you have a choice between using your nukes on your main planet, if you have nukes, which I suggest you do by this point, to either nuke the main planet to help your advances, or to nuke the other planet to help secure a foothold and take the planet over for good. Planetary invasions are pretty binary, actually, because you either have the entire planet securely. There's 3 ways to have it. You can have the entire planet completely secure, and the only thing that can break you are nukes, hallies, or lasers. Or you could be at the opposite spectrum, where you basically just landed, you got a couple factories pumping out engineers, and you're still settling in, and anything could happen. The middle ground is where you're just gotten T2 up, you're starting to turn it into an eco farm, but you're not secured yet. It's not a planetary fortress. That middle ground is where this comes in. You have to be able to get that invasion in and move your orbital units around and find where the enemy is with your advanced orbital satellites. Advanced radar satellites, and then use your nukes, your land units, and orbital lasers to finish off the enemy's eco and then move in on their commander. Can't sit there and neglect it. If you just decide to go, say, for example, pure nukes, and you just build maybe an advanced radar satellite and some power in orbit and a bunch of anchors, because you've heard anchors are pretty good, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to start nuking them, and then a few minutes later, it suddenly turns into an eco war where they're rushing anti-nukes and you're rushing nukes, and whoever finishes first wins, right? Or in this case, if they finish first, you lose, because that's 10,000 metal you're losing every single nuke you fire. It's a waste of time. Use every resource at your disposal. And that doesn't just mean use your energy and metal all the time. That means use every strategy you can effectively use at the same time. This means orbital lasers and nukes. It's very difficult for people to concentrate on 2 planets and 2 incoming strategies to kill their commander at once. To put it flat out, it's like having a fly buzzing in both ears. You can't focus on both things at the same time. It's just not going to work. So if you can do that, most of your games you'll win. It's just that's basic right there. You don't have anything. There's no other advanced strategy there. It's just do both at the same time and you'll win. Now, to move on from this, there are other ways to win as well. If you find that in that 10% of times where it hasn't worked and you're sitting there and you just can't break anything, they've done it. They've done the impossible. They've built umbrellas and anti-nukes at the same time, which kind of seems ridiculously easy, but when you think about it, when you're focusing on how fast your anti-nuke is being built, you're not looking at the orbital layer. So that SXX might be a little bit more invisible than it seems. Unfortunately, they saw it and they killed it, and they're waiting. So the best plan here is that you have two options. You can, or three options actually, now I think of it. You could spam orbital fabbers and move in on their planet and build like 15 teleporters everywhere. And just, maybe you could build 3 or 4 on your planet so you could teleport to different places at the same time. And try a massive invasion. Just go for broke. And this actually works pretty often because, again, it's the multiple attention thing. Not a lot of people can focus on that many things at the same time. You will have trouble focusing on that many things at the same time. That's how annoying and difficult it is. But if you can pull it off, you literally just you have a massive foothold on their planet now, and you can move in whenever you want. Priority when staging invasions, by the way, is T2 air because it is so overpowered, and man, does it work. You get on a planet and surprise somebody with 15 gunships and a couple T2 fighters to just take the airspace from their planet. They ain't getting it back. There is no way. You can just walk all over them right at that point. In addition to those that teleporter spam, you could do instead orbital fabbers and build 5 SXX lasers. Now, the reason I say 5 is because it takes 5 shots for an SXX to kill Commander. There is what I call this an exploit. Other people might disagree, and I think this needs to be fixed. I think it will be fixed in the next patch. But right now, if you move 5 orbital lasers on top of a commander or any other structure, they will fire instantly. As soon as they finish their deorbit burn, they're going to fire directly down instantaneously. In the case of a commander, that's an instant death. 5 lasers, yeah, he's dead. Umbrellas will shoot them down immediately, or almost immediately, but not fast enough. So you have basically an insta-kill weapon. You can kill anything in the game immediately. When you have that kind of power, you go for the commanders at all times. In this case, definitely go for the commanders. And as a branch, actually, of this strategy for 5 orbital lasers, which is a lot of metal. Don't take it lightly, that's a lot of metal. Take a while to build, so it might not be worth it. Alternative strategy, and 20 anchors, and 1 or maybe 2 lasers for redundancy. This way, if you drop the anchors first, before the laser gets there, have them timed so that it's maybe a 5-second differential between the two. Drop them on top of the commander, have the anchors patrol in a tight area around the commander so that he gets confused as to what's really going on, because all he sees is anchors. I mean, he just saw a big blob of whatever color you are just drop on top of his commander. He's probably freaking out. He's probably got umbrellas sitting there waiting for it. But you get that laser in, and he doesn't see that laser in time, easy kill. And no matter how many anchors you have, other anchors you have, you're not going to be able to punch through 20 in any easy or meaningful way within the few seconds it takes for an SXX to unload 5 shots. The last and probably the most common tactic is if the planet is nukeable, you build, instead of nuking 1 by 1, you build between 6 and 15 nuclear launchers, and then you rush them in sequence, and you don't launch them until you have all of them built. This is risky because you're obviously basically gearing up for a huge punch in the face, and they can see it coming. So it'll take them out, no problem. It's very hard to get that many anti-nukes in one spot, and nobody really wants to waste that many anti-nukes. I mean, like I said, you're gearing up for a huge slap in the face. It's easy to see coming. If they're scouting, if they have an advanced radar satellite, it's even easier to see coming. So there's no point to build anti-nukes when you can just take it out with your own nukes or just land a SXX and start taking it out. So that's a way to do it, and you can just overwhelm anything with 15 nukes, honestly. Almost anything, and that's a great idea for a lot of newer players and some players who don't know how to use Orbital. But I still suggest using Orbital over nukes or with nukes, because they're so binary. They're much more binary than the Orbital layer is right now. It's either you got it or you didn't, and that's it. As for Halleys and deciding when and where to use them, I believe Brian has a Halley video out on how to actually launch them, and if you do have trouble launching them and you think it's a bug, I suggest you go in and you get somebody who knows how to use them, ask them to help you, because it's not that hard. I'm going to say that right now. It's 4 clicks. That's it. 4. You hit Send to Annihilation, you zoom out the system view, you hit the red button, you click where you want to go, you hit the red button next to the planet that you want to smash, you click the planet where you want to put it, your special place, maybe on top of their base for laughs and giggles, and then you hit Send to Annihilate. And it's basically a dead planet in about 10 seconds. It's really not that difficult. As for figuring out where to send Halleys after you figured out how to press the button that says Annihilate, if there's 2 planets, it's easy, send them to the main planet, whatever. But if there's more than 1 planet, you have to have intel. This is more important than anything. If you get anything out of this orbital discussion thing, intel, for crying out loud, will win you the game. If you scout, if you have vision, if you have radar, it doesn't matter. You have to have it. Just get it. It'll save you so much time. You won't cry as much at the end of the game, and you might actually win with Halleys instead of losing to somebody nuking you. It's kind of embarrassing. So if you can find where their commanders are, say they're split up. All right, it's easy to say, okay, I see their commander, I'm just going to drop it on his head. Okay, that's fair enough. That's pretty obvious, right? If you see the commanders, you drop it on their heads. Or if there's one commander, drop it on his head. Just end the game. You have a planet, for crying out loud. Just make it the walk-off homer. Just end it. But if you can't end it, but because the commander's moved recently and you don't know where he went, he might have gone to a more fortified planet, or maybe a planet that you don't even know about or you know about, but you don't know if it's colonized or not. Or maybe he's on your planet, and you have a Halley moon, and your commander's on your planet, but you only have the Halley moon, but you don't want to send it anywhere else because there's other players who are, there's other players. When you can adjust the orbit of your moon with Halleys, where you can send your moon to another orbit around another planet, I would suggest using that moon as a temporary fortress before you smash it, and set up nukes, set up maybe some orbital lasers and some astroids for some quick invasions. Maybe just drop it on top of his base, nuke his base with your moon, because that's where your eco is, etc., etc. So many different strategies there that you could use. But it's a difficult decision, and it really is up to you. If you think you can get out of it and survive it, that's fine. My suggestion would be to send your commander to another planet that isn't about to be Halleyed or is doing the Halleying, so maybe a third-party planet, even if it's occupied. And I suggest you bounce the commander. So you send the commander to the moon, or whatever planet it is that isn't being Halleyed, and you immediately route him back by shift queuing up move command back to your planet, over the spot where you want to recolonize. At that point, you drop the moon after you send him, and maybe he's about halfway to the other planet if it's orbiting. If it's not orbiting, you'll have to wait a long time before you Halley. But if it is orbiting, just wait till he's about halfway to the second planet, drop the Halleys, and by the time the Halley gets there, your commander should be en route back to the main planet that you just Halleyed. That'll give you basically a sandbox to work with. You might not have any eco, but it's better than nothing. Otherwise, I would definitely drop your Halleyed moon on the other planet that is not occupied by you. Or if it is occupied by you, but you don't really have a foothold and you're kind of losing, then please. I just want to remind everybody here also that when you have a chance to go for the throat, you go for it. So biggest and baddest player in the entire game, whoever that is, you kill them with Halleys. The only reason I say this is because if you have Halleys, you're either turtling on that moon and nobody's noticing you, or you've turtled on that moon, somebody's noticed you, and it's like a last-ditch effort to kill everybody and win the game. Or, and on another note, you are second place. That is, you aren't winning right now, or maybe you're first place. You're winning by a large margin. You have a huge ego. And you've got Halleys. You're going to use them. You take out your closest competitor because they are the easily the only people who could put a snipe on you. And since that's the only thing, if you're in first or second place eco-wise, or map control-wise, or whatever, snipes are the way to go. Especially if you're losing. Winning, snipes are just... If you're winning and snipes are just lethal. It's almost impossible to stop. Regardless, be careful where you send that moon. You just spent a lot of metal on the most awesome thing in Planetary Annihilation. Do be careful with it. Let's see. Tips and tricks for Orbital, I think, will go next. You got anything else, Brian?
No, you're covering a hell of a lot. Keep at it.
Alrighty, so tips and tricks for organizing and managing your orbital units. First off, settings. I would highly suggest that you go into settings, and I am sorry, I do not remember how to do this right now. It has something to do with the orbital focus and the land focus, if I remember correctly, in the settings. But you have to set your settings so that at a certain distance from the planet, everything on the planet has their icons disappear except for three things. Those three things are commanders, your orbital factory, and your orbital units. And also umbrellas. That's four things. Everything else has their icons disappear. So suddenly you can see everything in orbital without having the clutter of all those units. If you need to get in close and you see those icons appear again, I suggest tilting the planet on its side instead of trying to view orbital units directly. Another thing, don't try to micro-orbital like you micro-land. Don't try to separate them out into little groups and be like 3 orbital fabrics go there and 4 go there. No, you just send them all in the same place and put them on a large build queue. Don't even try to manage it. You'll take twice as much time microing than you will while your orbital fabrics are building the stuff. And you'll probably get frustrated while you're at it. So just send them all in a big group. I mean, if you put some orbital fighters with them accidentally, honestly, it's okay. It really is okay. You'll make your life easier, and you probably won't rage so much about orbital later. Other tips and tricks. Let's see. If you attack, move an Avenger or an Anchor to a unit, an orbital unit, it will follow that unit around the solar system. So, if you see a bouncing commander, and you want to kill that bouncing commander, and by bouncing commander I mean somebody who is basically touching the planet and touching off immediately. That usually happens when somebody shift queues a bunch of planets up and just lets them go.
Which, with that shift queue, isn't it indestructible?
It is not indestructible, because it does sit in orbit for about a moment, and the Astreus, as we all know, is notoriously weak. So if you have a couple Avengers near it, when it drops down, you might have a chance to kill it. But it is, as Brian said here, it is very close to invulnerable. So the easiest way to kill that guy is probably to either camp the planet he's going to and hope you got it right, or shift queue an attack command on that commander, and you'll have Avengers chasing him down wherever he goes. What that means is, as far as I know, I did hear this from somebody else, and I haven't fully tested it yet, but the Avengers are faster than the Astreus. So they will actually precede the commander onto the planet and land where he lands. I've never done this myself because I haven't needed to, but I did hear that you can do that, and they will precede the commander and just drop where he's going to drop. It's probably a coding issue, and I do consider that an exploit because it's like predicting the future, even though you shouldn't be able to. Regardless, that's a way to kill him, because bouncing commander is also an exploit because he's invincible, almost invincible, as Brian said.
But in the future, we are going to have multiple nuke options, and one of those nukes will be able to shoot down things that are hopping in between orbital layers. So in the
Exactly.
future, there will be less options and less ways to exploit this, but that's in the future. For the now, use it until we lose it.
Yes. I do not suggest, however, putting your commander on a like as soon as you get the chance, like putting your commander on a bouncing route between planets. I mean, honestly, that's a way to get yourself killed, and it's also a way to make people not want to play with you ever again. Let me emphasize that. Don't be a douchebag. Don't bounce your commander if you don't have to. If there's a Hallian coming to your planet and you don't know when, where, or how, just you can do it. That's okay. That's fine. One or two. That's okay. Don't put them on an infinite shift queue to just God. That's annoying. Anyway, it's like gentlemen's rules that we had back in early beta. Just come on, people. Be nice. If you lose, you lose. That's a game. You don't have to be a dick about it. Anyway, sorry for that. In addition to those little tricks, if you shift queue, I think we already talked about this, but if you shift queue an orbital laser, they will follow the unit to wherever they went. So a commander walking, if you shift attack queue, or just I'm sorry, I keep saying shift queue, attack queue a attack move an orbital laser onto the commander, he will land on top of the commander no matter if he moved or not. That was actually an issue I had in the last game that I played, where I kept trying to attack move with the commander, but I missed, as you could say, with my mouse, and I would move the orbital laser, and it would be too late by that point. He'd already have launched and had his orders set. So I think I bounced twice with the orbital laser before I finally got a fix, as it were, on the commander. Shoot, let's see here. Anchors are great at protecting satellites because if I remember correctly, they move at a little bit slower. Anchors move only a little bit slower. So if you put 6 around a advanced radar satellite, for example, the only thing that can really kill it is an umbrella, because anchors. And that many anchors, emitters won't get anywhere close to that advanced radar satellite. As for attacking, if you are behind in the orbital war and you think you need to do some damage to somebody, build a lot of Avengers and flank, because anchors aren't very fast. So if they built like a line of anchors in between you and your opponent's base, and you want to go around them, just go around them. Just go around them and kill the satellites behind them. If you can, get the orbital fabbers building the anchors. I don't think you'll get even close, honestly, but it doesn't hurt to try. What else do we have that could be interesting? Vanguard drops also. These were covered in a lot by a few other people in the past few weeks about how you can use an Astraeus to drop a Vanguard from orbit. I don't suggest this in a single planet game, though it was originally done in a single planet game, simply because the Astraeus is so god-awful slow. I would use it the same way you use the orbital laser. I would drop him directly next to a commander on another planet, or send him to another planet and send him back. It'd probably be faster than trying to move him across the planet. And also, the opponent wouldn't have the ease of just like looking over at your base and accidentally seeing an Astraeus hovering above it, slowly moving towards him and being like, "Oh, there's a Vanguard in there. I should probably put up an umbrella." Another exploit that I'll cover here briefly. I don't want to cover it a lot because I don't like it. I did use it in the last game. Again, I don't like it at all. Ground fabbers are able to assist orbital fabbers. And when I say ground fabbers, I mean everything from air to naval, and probably subs if they were still in the game, if you believe it or not. So essentially, you can assist. Take your fabbers, click assist on an orbital fabber, and then have the orbital fabber build something, probably a laser, because that would help a lot, and it does, in late game especially.
Yeah, especially since the orbital fabbers use so much so much energy to build, and this is also probably another thing that would be considered an exploit by many and probably won't be around for a while. So use it until you lose it.
Exactly, and I believe many are calling for a decrease in the cost of an XXX because it is kind of expensive for a regular play, especially how easily it is countered by the umbrella. They have made it a little bit more versatile compared to what it used to be. It used to be an insta-kill by an umbrella, but now it's not like that, thankfully. What else? Yeah, just use it while you can. I did use it once in a desperate attempt to snipe a commander. I believe it was against somebody. It was somebody very good who drove me back into a corner, and I basically used every inch of build power I had, including my commander, and one orbital fabber to build an advanced satellite, an orbital satellite, and try to kill his commander. So it is possible, but I don't suggest it. In fact, I don't suggest using orbital fabbers in concurrence with ground fabbers simply because your ground fabbers will move with your orbital fabbers, and the difference between like the actual place where your orbital fabbers are over the planet is sometimes very difficult to determine. So it's kind of like looking through a glass of water and trying to figure out where things are by reaching behind it and grabbing something. It's just difficult to do because it's not refracted, but when you're viewing it from an angle, it's difficult to get a fix on it. Almost impossible, actually, if you aren't if you haven't trained with that sort of thing or you work with angles a lot. Let's see. Also, I just want to emphasize before I end this up here, intel is your most valuable asset when you get to the orbital game. If it gets to 20 minutes and it's multi-planet, or even if it's single planet, and if it gets to 25 minutes and you don't have an advanced radar satellite, or I'm sorry, if it gets to 25 minutes and your opponent has an orbital launcher and you don't have an advanced radar satellite, you are missing out on a lot of stuff. And it's entirely possible you will lose the game because he might see something you don't and exploit it. And the advanced radar satellite that was from early beta, where it could see the entire planet, was built for this very reason. It was also as expensive as a nuke because it was like giving you God mode, essentially, over a planet. The current advanced radar satellite is not nearly like that, and I appreciate that. Thank you, developers, for doing that. And it is much more strategic now, but it is still extremely useful for intel because of that large vision radius. Brian, you have anything else?
No, you covered a whole lot. It was very insightful, and hopefully all of the viewers will now have a better understanding of Orbital and how to use it, because I think it is very undervalued and very misunderstood by the community at large.
I feel the same way. I've actually only come across a few players who were either better than me at the Orbital game or were more knowledgeable in that they could beat me at it. Which I'm very sad for. I don't necessarily enjoy the Orbital game because I feel like it could be improved drastically, but I do enjoy a challenge, and I wish there were more of those out there.
Yeah, so this would be a great opportunity to take advantage of your opponent's weakness. This is Planetary Annihilation. We're playing on multiple planets. The orbital layer is very, very important. Take advantage of it, use it, and you'll be able to beat your opponents who ignore it because they just ignorantly misunderstand it.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Merritt. Hopefully everybody found that very insightful, and drop me a like and a comment if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.